In this project, you're going to learn how to create a message pop-up box, a mode, as you would call it, using JavaScript and Tailwind CSS. Now, this video is again part of my Learn Web Development from the Beginning series, and we are moving on to the next step, which is creating projects with JavaScript incorporated. For now, we're going to create an HTML, then CSS based project, and then we created some Tailwind based project. We did a couple of crash courses, and the previous video was about JavaScript. It was a 12 hours something. That's the maximum that I'm allowed to upload on one video. Hey, 12 hours from my complete course of JavaScript. With the previous video, definitely check that one out. It has everything that you need to know, the entire basics things about JavaScript in that video. So definitely check that one out. But after you watch this video, of course, and to leave a link down in the video description, just check out the entire series. This is a series. This is going to be a playlist. Just click through them. If you start from the beginning, you're going to see everything. Now, let's go to the project. So basically we have here, this project we already did in Tailwind CSS. So the link for source code will be down in the video description. You can start the previous one, which is just this project without any kind of JavaScript added to it. And what we are going to do is, because previously we could just follow the guy, toggle dark mode, so far and so on. Also, I did this in pink form, whatever, it's the same thing. This was pink and not blue. And yeah, now if we click on the message button, a message modal will appear. And right here, we can either click everywhere in the screen. It's going to close out the modal. You can then click on cancel, close out the modal, or you can just click on send, which then alert you that you need to type something into the message box. So let's click OK, and let's type in here like and subscribe, of course, to the channel. And by the way, you can now become a member, and for the maximum tier, because there are multiple tiers, you're going to get all of my courses for free. All of those who are subscribers, or not subscribers, members of the channel, and depending on the tier, the maximum tier, you're going to get all the courses for free, special projects for free, and you're going to get first access to all of the videos that I'm doing. So basically 1 week before the videos are released. So think about it, check it out. Let's now send this message, and message sent, like and subscribe to the channel, and let's just get started with the project, I would say. Got the Darius. Okay, so I have here the finished project open, and here we're going to go into, you can start from just the beginning, but this right here is the folder for the entire series. Sorry about that. So I was out cold the last couple of days and almost a week. So this is what we did last time in Tailwind CSS. Just ignore this. The next part is important. We're going to create. So basically, I'm going to close up this div. Just going to leave the body. And from down here, we're going to create a modal. So modal. And what modals are, I have caps lock on them. Modal are, for example, elements that only appear when they are triggered. So for example, this message box is hiding behind of it the entire code, the entire thingy. So the little guy there. Now the modal can be triggered by clicking on the message button, and we're going to first of all create a modal, and then we're going to create a message button. So let's get started with our modal. I'm just going to create a div with, and we need to use IDs because they are essential for this part. So I'm going to start with a hash and call this modal, then dot for classes, and I'm going to go quickly over these classes. So also for JavaScript part. So this is going to be Tailwind. I'm going to type up everything really quickly, because this is not the important part. The JavaScript part is the most important one. So I'm going to go really slow with JavaScript, and then I'm going to pick up the pace there. So let's position this fixed. You can also jump around. I'm going to leave timestamps in the video description. And inset 0.flex. I'm not going to explain everything here. Check out the crash course from Tailwind CSS. There are more explanations there. So I'm going to take the entire thingy and position this as item center. Then we're going to justify the content here. So justify to the center and bg gray dot and 900 -900. Okay, just hit enter because I wanted to open this up with live server. So there we go. We have our previous project. Okay. Now obviously we can't see anything. So what I'm going to do here is let's add a BG and opacity, because I have this inset of 0, opacity and 50, and then hit save, and then we can now hide it by typing hidden, and there we go, it's now gone. Okay, so now we can see the card back here. As I told you, this is red, the other one is blue, doesn't matter. Yeah, so let's move on. We are going to create now the model. We're going to continue on with the content of the model. And right here in our finished project, you can see we have a card like, we have a container, we have a message, a title, then a message box, and 2 buttons. So we're going to quickly go through this. First, going to create this container. So div with the class of bg and white. And then in dark mode, we're going to have a bg and gray dash 800. Then we're going to round up the corners, round did lg and shadow and lg. And then padding all around, padding of 6, a max width of sm and dot a full width. And then the text I want to be center. Okay, so let's hit here and enter. And now let's populate this. So we're going to have a text and the message down low. And this text will live in a H2. Now remember the H2s and H1s really don't matter here in Tailwind CSS. And if you definitely want to know more about Tailwind CSS, then check out my latest course on Tailwind CSS. So let's type out here text and XL, and I'm also going to just paste in here this so we can see something. And I'm going to just delete this hidden for now. So there's the message. So we can see what we're styling. Okay, so there's the message. And let's move back to the class and continue here with font, semi-bold text. And we're going to go here with a gray of 800. And then in dark mode, we're just going to have a text white. Simple as that. Also, we don't need the terminal for now, so I'm just going to hide it. Now for the text area. Now I'm just going to copy this because this is a to type out. We're going to go over the text area. So text area, we're going to have the ID. This is important. The ID of modal input, because we need to take a grab of, we're going to grab this in our JavaScript. Then for classes, we're going to have margin to the top in order to push this down with full height of 32. So we're going to limit this to a 32 height. You could definitely make it larger if you want, but when it's starting, so if I refresh here, I'm going to start with 32 height. Adding 2 borders, so far and so on, dark mode, and focus outline hidden. And now for right after this, we're going to have a container, so a div with just a margin to the top of 4, and we're going to play this as flex, justify as center, and a gap of -4 because I want to have a bit of space between those 2 buttons. So let's create our first button. Just create a simple button. This is going to be send, and then let's add a couple of classes to it. So first things first, before we even start styling the button, this button going to have an ID. Really important that we add to this button's ID. To specific this one. For the other one, not going to add an ID. I'm going to show you a little trick. Now this is going to be a modal dash send dash button, and this is how we're going to grab onto this button later on in JavaScript. Now for styling, we're just going to do here cursor pointer, then a padding x-axis of 4, padding y-axis of 2. And as I said, I'm not going to go too deep into what all these classes mean. I'm just assuming that you already watched the other videos. BG blue and 600 and text. Whoops. Here we go. Text white. And let's add a hover effect. Hover. You're going to have a BG blue and 700. Okay. So let's not overcomplicate this. Simple as it can be. I'm going to copy it. Paste it in one more time. I'm going to have to close. And I'm going to just close. As I said, we're not going to have any kind of ID for this. What we are going to have is a couple of different classes, and we're going to go over them. So cursor pointer once more. We have a cursor pointer. Same padding, same on both axes. Rounded border. Background is now gray. Where I'm going to change this to a dark mode is going to be different. Gray and text and so on and so on. So you can basically see everything that we've done here. Also, I'm going to copy this transition up here. I don't like when things happen that quickly. That's much better. So we are done with this, but we have our modal. So first things first, I'm going to hide it once more. So let's go in here, up here to the ID of modal. So this div and type in hide or hidden, hidden, and it's gone. So first thing that we're going to do is when we click on this button, we're going to toggle our dark mode. Now for the moment, the dark mode is triggered automatically on this, where do we have it? Anchor tag. It was an anchor tag button on this on-click document, so on, so on. So an on-click event, but on the button. So first things first, I'm going to show you how to do this in JavaScript. This is still JavaScript, but applied in HTML. So what we're going to do is create a new file here, and we're going to call it script, okay, .js. So let's just first of all start and load this. So I'm going to console log here, just script, and now add this script tag down here before the body as script and source and script.js. Okay, and now I'm going to move into the script and right click, inspect the page first of all. I go to the console and move this little fellow down into the bottom of the page. That's much better. You can see here the console is logging script. If you see script appearing, it means that your script just loaded. Okay, now we're going to go up here where we have going to close up the Explorer, the left side. We are going to go to the button and I'm going to take this and just comment it out. Okay. Whoa, not what I wanted. You know what? I'm going to do it another way. I'm going to cut it, go over the button, create a comment, paste it in here. So you still have the code. But what I'm going to do, you know what? No, I'm going to do it differently. So don't mess up. I'm going to copy the button, comment it out and paste it in once more down here. Oops. And the button. And I'm just going to remove this click event. So let's go into our script tag. And now we're going to, first of all, create a variable. We're going to create a variable using the const keyword. We're going to assign a name to this variable, which is going to be, what did I name it? Dark, a really specific name, mode, toggler, and btn for button. Okay, now we're going to go assign a value to it. So the fact that it is a const, you can also use a let. The fact that it is a const means it is a variable. Now it has a name, and now we need to give it a, what am I doing here? Now we need to give it a value. So what I'm going to do is go to the document. So this right here is the document. And close out the console. Go to the document, type in document. That's the way I'm going to go to the document. From here, we're going to select an element from this document. So I'm going to go and type in the keyword of get element by ID. Open and close parentheses, open and close double quotation marks, and now pass in the name of the ID you want to select. And in our case, I'm going to give this a ID, the button, of course. So let's go back to our HTML, type in ID. And for the ID, I'm going to use the name of dark-mode and -toggle. There we go. So we have this ID. I'm going to copy it, and now I can grab onto it from JavaScript. Boom. That's all we need to do. Now you can console log here, just try it out. This variable, you should see, I click inspect and hit save here. In the console, you should now see this button just appearing as an ID. Because if I start refreshing here, the button. Okay, so simple as that. Now we know that we selected the right element. So I'm going to leave it in here, comment out the script. By the way you use comments in JavaScript is adding two // and it's commented out, or just hold down Control and the button left to your shift key. This is the /. So comment in, comment out. Commenting in means this, commenting out means this. Now, let's create here a way so when we click on this button, it's going to toggle that dark mode. Now, the way in Tailwind CSS, that way that we toggle dark mode is by adding to the HTML. So let's create here. So the way we add Tailwind CSS dark mode is by adding to the HTML tag the class of dark mode. And what we now need to do is create a function. Then when it's triggered, is going to add a class to the HTML. So what I'm going to do is create a function with the keyword function, give it a name, for example, toggle dark mode, because that is what the function does. Open and close parentheses, open and close curly brackets. And we're going to create here const. I'm going to call it HTML. That's just the name, element. And we're going to add a value now to it by going to the document. So again, this is DOM manipulation. Document. And in order to select the HTML, we need to select the document element. This is the document element, the HTML. Okay, so we assigned to this variable with the name of HTML element, the value of document element. So we're going to take now the HTML and we're going to grab onto its, one of the properties is can trigger its class list. Now from here, we can add another top property of toggle on that class list. And we're going to toggle here a class of dark. Now we're going to use this function by applying a event to the button that when it's clicked right here is then going to add or remove the class, and definitely check out the beginner JavaScript course that I published on my YouTube channel. Add and remove the class of dark to the HTML tag. So in order to do this, we're going to grab onto the variable and now add a event listener to it. So dot add event listener, open and close parentheses, and there are multiple kinds of events, but what we want to add is a click event. Just type in the name of click. Then after the curly bracket, after the quotation marks, we're going to have a comma and then the function. And this function, when it's triggered, is going to call upon the toggle dark mode function. So let's try this out. If I click now on this button, it should trigger dark mode. Because what it's doing now, if we click here on elements, click this down just a bit so we can also see something. Go up to the HTML tag, you can see that the class of dark is now added to the tag. Although if we take a look at our HTML index right here, you see that there is no class added to the HTML tag. So if I click this once more, I'm going to remove that class with the name of dark. It's just going to have the class. Okay, so that's the way that works. Now I'm going to close this up, and you see this from number 3 to number 13, 10 lines almost, minus 2. 11 lines of code that we just wrote, minus this, 10 lines of code we just wrote. We can simplify this. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to type in here, to do. I'm going to call this refactor, meaning we're going to write code simpler. And the way we can, everything that we did here, do it even simpler, but this is only useful if you will not use this variable anymore. So, and also this function. The function is actually a helper function. We create functions in order for them to be reusable. So let's say we're going to use this function multiple times in the code. We're going to create one kind of those helper functions, utility functions, but a bit later, actually right after this one. So because I'm not going to use neither the variable, neither the function, anywhere else in my code base, because I know this, I'm just going to do the following. So document, just going to type in document, dot query selector. This is the ES6 way to select elements. Instead of document get element by ID, by tag name, so on and so on, we have query selector. And in query selector, open close parenthesis, in order to select something, either an ID or a class, you just have to specify the way, just as like in CSS, the way you're targeting it. So for example, for ID, we need to use the hash, just like in CSS. For a class, you would need to use the dot before the name. And the name of the element that we want to select is dark mode toggler. I'm going to go a bit faster here because losing time, I have to do things. So we have the document query selector, hash, dark mode toggler, dot, add an event listener to it. I'm not going to use add event listener. I'm going to use directly the event listener. That is on click. And now I'm going to use here, not a function, but a regular function, but a arrow function. So now when this is basically a nameless function. And this nameless function, you could either add whatever happens within this function in curly brackets, if there are multiple events happening. If not, then you can leave those curly brackets on. I know Prettier would automatically add them back. We're going to hit and save, but usually you can live without it. And I'm going to say that, hey, JavaScript, I'm going to comment this everything out. Dear JavaScript, as soon as you load the document, go and select me this ID and add an event listener on click on it. And if this click happens, then go again to the document and get the document element and dot its class list, and from its class list, toggle the class of dark. That's all that I need. And if I click now here, I'm going to re-trigger the class of dark. So simple as that. You can see in 2 lines of code, I rewrote 10 lines of code because empty spaces and 1 comment here. Pretty cool, but this is not reusable. So I don't have access to the dark mode toggle button if I want to use it anywhere else. Don't have access to the function and so on and so on. So what we're going to do now is open that modal. And the way we're going to do this is, first of all, because I'm going to just use this once, go ahead and query selector, grab onto the message box button here. So I know I named this message. Did I name it? I'm going to check it in just 1 second. Message button. Let me just check it if I've named it message button. So HTML, and I did not give this the ID of message button. No worries. ID, message, dash, button, a tune. Message button. Okay, so we just gave this little fellow the ID of message button. So it's an anchor tag, but I styled it like a button. Okay, now we're going to add a on-click event, so dot on click and arrow function. And now we want to trigger here a close modal, actually toggle modal, what do I call it? Toggle modal, okay, and open and close parentheses. But we will say, no, we don't have this function. No way we're going to create this function. Now, functions can be hosted to the top of the document. JavaScript is synchronous. There are also asynchronous functions, but you need to use async for them. But functions can be hoisted from they're defined here, and you can call them up in the top. So we're going to do this with a keyword function, toggle modal, open close parenthesis, go down here, open close curly brackets, and also let's do here to do create toggle modal function. Okay, now what this function will do is go to the document, grab onto I'm going to use query selector, going to grab onto the ID, open and close. I have to be careful because my head is covering up the code, but I want you to see me. Because I'm a narcissist. I love myself. Because when I'm explaining with my fingers, that's why I want you to see me. So document, query selector, we're going to grab onto the ID of modal that we created here. So this little fellow right here. Grab onto this ID, and it's class list. And remember, we had the class of hidden on it. So what we're going to do is toggle this hidden class. So open and close, not classes. So class list dot toggle, open close parenthesis, open close quotation, double quotation marks, and paste it in or type in the class of hidden. So once more, we created a function that we named toggle modal. This will grab on from the document of the class of ID and toggle the class of hidden on that element. And right here, we're going to grab onto the document, we select the message button. So the message button, as we click on it, is going to open up this. Boom. So we cannot close it anymore. What we're going to do, we're going to refresh it. So just refresh, the page is going to go away because it's not saving to memory or to state like in React. React coming up later, still later. Okay, so we just triggered, even if it's in dark mode, this little modal, okay, by clicking on that message button. Next week then we're going to do is to close up the modal somehow. So the first way we're going to close up the modal is by clicking anywhere else that in the modal. So you can do this. I'm going to show you the old way. I'm going to leave it at that. So basically, we're just going to go to the document. I want this to be an hour-long video. And we're going to grab on again to the modal. So this is one great example where we could use a variable. So basically, I'm going to go up here and create a const and call it modal and assign it to this little fellow right here. Okay, so we have now our modal. Modal. Why aren't you closing out? Oh yeah. Modal, I'm going to replace in the function this part with just modal. And now I'm just going to use modal.onClick. So add on the modal onClick, add the onClick on it. And this time we're not going to use a arrow function because what I'm going to show you does not work in arrow functions. It has something to do with the scope. So we're just going to assign it to a function, open close parenthesis, and we're going to, whatever you put in this parenthesis, in our case, the event. So event will be treated as a variable that can be only used within the functions. Open and close parenthesis. And we're going to, first of all, create a if statement here. So if the event dot and targets, whatever you're targeting, is triple equal, so it's equal to the type and the value of this. Now, this means the scope of the object. I'm not going to go into what this means in detail. Just remember, it is the scope of an object. So if the event that is happening on the modal, which is the click, is the event itself, then this dot class list dot add the class of hidden. So let me show you what is happening here. Let me actually add here above this a console log of modal. Okay, open up the console, right click, inspect. Console. So if I click anywhere, nothing happens. If I open up the message, open up the modal and click in the message box, nothing happens. If I click on the close button, nothing happens. On the send button, nothing happens. Click outside the modal, that was this. I know it's stupid. It's a bit complicated to understand. I also have a separate video. A fly is trying to attack me. I have a separate video on the keyword this. So basically, I just triggered a event that was propagated on the object itself. And that is why the classes of hidden was then triggered on the modal. So once again, doesn't matter where I click, but as long as it is not in the modal, so outside of a modal, is going to trigger the class of hide. Okay. Let's move on. I know it's complicated. You're going to understand it maybe later on. So next thing that we want to do is to send the message. Open this and send the message. Goes up there, the console there. So to do, send message. Too many E's there. So we're going to grab onto the document, go to the document, use query selector, grab onto the modal, the ID of modal dash stand dash button. You're going to add a on click event listener to on it. So on click event, not the listener, on click event. Then we're going to assign it to an arrow function. And this arrow function, now we need to open and close curly brackets because we're going to do multiple things. First of all, let's create here if statement. If the document dot query selector and the ID now of modal dash input, let's see if we defined this. So I'm going to take this into Control C. Let's see the message box. Yes, we have a modal input. And now dot value, what does this mean? So whatever we type in here is the value of the message box. We're typing in here some kind of new value. Now, if this value is triple equal to the type and so this three equals means it has to be equal to the type and it has to be equal to the value. When you're using only an equal sign, doesn't mean it is equal. It means you're assigning something to it. Here we're checking. If you have two equal sign, it's only the value. And if you have three equal sign, you're also checking for the type. Now, as soon as you learn TypeScript, you're going to see how valuable that is because most of the problems appear when you're not using the correct types. So if the dot value blah 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 is an empty string, so there's nothing in there, then we're going to Windows dot alert and we're going to alert here a please in those parentheses, please enter a message. Okay, so if this file is open, we click on this button, then we're going to have this alert because there's nothing in here. And also we're going to just return and the function will stop. Now, if or else this is not true, it should do something else. For example, windows.alert, open and close double quotation mark, that the message sent, and I'm going to leave here space, plus I'm going to concatenate here the document dot query selector dot, not dot, open close parentheses, open close double quotation marks, hashtag modal dash input, and go outside the parentheses and dot value. So whatever we type in here is going to be sent as a message. First try this. Let's try sending without typing anything. We have a problem. Then we're going to type hi, send it, and then hi will appear here as a message. Close it up. Okay. Now the message still remains here, so we need to clear it. So what I'm going to do is document.query selector. And we can already see that we can use this as a variable here. So I'm going to go to up here. Now this variable will be locally scoped, not globally scoped, meaning the scope of this variable will only be within this function. Not a function per se, but will only be within this boundaries. And this is going to be message. So the message is equal to document. We're going to select the modal input. And each time we're going to use this message and just we're going to replace this with message.value. And we're going to replace this message.value. And here once more message.value. And we're going to assign this to an empty string, meaning that if I try this, nothing happens. If I type in here like, and you guessed it, subscribe and send it, is going to be sent. But also take a look at the message. As soon as I click OK, it's going to be deleted. So we're going to reassign the value of the text area to nothing, to an open string. And also what we want to do after we send this message to close up the modal. So we're just going to use the toggle modal function once more. It's going to toggle the opposite of whatever the message is. So hi, send, close is going to be emptied and it's going to be closed because without let me just comment it out. Without emptying it, if I reopen, type something in here, send it, it was sent. If I reopen this to check it out, the message is still in here. So we need to leave this in here in order to get rid of the message, to reassign the value of it to nothing. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this. This is pretty much it. We are now able to send a message, close the modal from the close button, didn't close the modal from the close button. Ah, what a shame. So let's go to our index.html file. We're going to go down here. This is the last thing I want to show you. So I didn't add to this any kind of ID. What you can do is add JavaScript in here in the button. So on click, the last thing I want to show you, on click document.get element by ID. I'm going to grab one here. We need to use here single quotes. Modal and dot class list and dot add and the class of hidden. Okay, so let's try this out. If I open this and click on close, it's going to close up the message. So simple as that. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Norbert BM. I teach web development. Become a subscriber, like this video, become a member, get access to all courses. Also check out the link in the video description below. I have there my website where I have all of my courses. If you just want to pick single ones of them. I also have a real big bundle pack. With this being said, thank you so much. Happy coding. Catch you next time. Bye bye.